We're joined by Lexi from Bessemer again in the Bessemer new kitchen today. And if you're one of those people who loves a roast, but there's only two of you or only one of you, Lexi's going to show you how you can have a roast at home for two and cook it in a little, what would you call that?
This is our medium-sized casserole, so it can be converted into a frying pan, or you can put on the side handles and you've got a lovely little Dutch oven or a casserole.
So how do we make a roast on the stovetop?
The thing I love about roasting on top of the stove, Ben, is that basically you can cut your cooking time from doing a roast on top of the stove compared to in the oven, approximately up to a half of the cooking time.
I mean, the thing with a Sunday roast is normally it goes on really, really early.
Exactly.
So this is a great way of having a roast prepared of an evening really, really quickly.
It is indeed. And not only that, I found that a lot of people, if they're like, in my case, there's just my husband and myself now, the kids have left home, or there's people who just live on their own, don't want to go to the trouble of cooking a roast because the thought of having to put it in the oven, wait all that time. The one I'm showing you today is targeting those sort of people. You're cooking for one or for two. If you wanted to do a big family roast, of course it's the same principle that I'm doing, but obviously in a larger pan.
My wife loves roast. She complains to me all the time that we don't have enough roast. But there's four of us in our family, but obviously Jack is 8 months and Charlie is 2. So if we are going to cook a roast, it is normally just for the two of us. This is a great way for me to be able to cook salad roast and not have to go through all the pain and suffering of getting up early on a Sunday.
Yeah. So today I've just chosen to use the lamb racks, but you can use any kind of mini roast that you want to. But as I've mentioned before when I've been here to visit you, part of the Bessemer rule is that you need to preheat your pans. So this has been preheating away and I need to test that heat before I go and put my food in it. So I have my little dish of water and just flick.
You want to hear that sound?
You want to hear that sound. If it wasn't much of a sizzle, then I put the meat in, it would stew.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just going to pick up our piece of meat and we're just going to lay it on its side and you can hear it sizzling.
Yep.
And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a browning up.
So one thing we did do, normally when you get a little loin roast like that or a little mini roast, sometimes you've got that layer of fat on the outside.
Yes.
Trim it off.
And that is optional, but what I find is if you do leave too much fat on it, it really accumulates in the bottom of the pan. And quite often when you're putting your vegetables, when you add the potato and the pumpkin, it's just a little bit too fatty for my taste. But obviously, whoever's cooking that meal can adjust it to their taste.
Fat is very dense and you're not going to permeate, especially when you're cooking something on the bone.
Yes.
You're not going to get heat to the bone.
Okay, because of the fat.
In time because of the fat.
Oh, very good tip.
Fat will protect meat from heat like you would not believe. Okay. So trim that fat away, you get a much evener cooking.
So you can hear they're having a bit of a sizzle now. So we're just going to carefully turn it over and just seal the other side. We don't need to get it too brown because we've got to trust the cookware.
You are roasting it.
Yeah, so during the process that will happen. Now the other thing that you need to just be a little bit cautious of is of course the bones. With the bones in the non-stick, you've got to be gentle, don't be tossing them around so that you don't scratch your pan.
They can be very sharp, the bones.
Exactly. And also you might think, oh, that's not enough meat. You can actually do 2 pieces in here. And once you've sealed them, you can join them together by intertwining them between the bones themselves so that you can fit more in. That piece of meat, depending on how rare you like it, I'm a bit of a person who doesn't like it too rare, so I would probably cook that 25 minutes. But if you wanted it more pink, how long would you sort of think for you?
Probably 18 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
But when you're cooking on the bone, again, the bone is so dense, it sucks up so much heat.
Yes.
You can actually cook things a lot longer on the bone and they won't dry out.
Okay.
So if you're cooking something on the bone, I would always suggest going a little bit further.
Yes.
So because that's on the bone, I would probably go to 25 minutes. I reckon you're spot on, Lexi.
So because of that timing, I'm going to put my potatoes and the pumpkin into the pan with it. And you might think, oh, but it's a bit dry, but it doesn't matter. The fat, that little bit of fat will come out of the meat and help roast these up, so I don't need to toss them. But however, if you like it for flavour, you can drizzle a little bit of olive oil on there as well. And I'll also put just a half of a onion in there to add a little bit of flavour, and we're going to pop our lid on. and open up the vent, because as we all know now, O is for open, O is for oven. So if we want to have an oven effect, we need to release all the steam that's inside. So just make sure you've got the opening of your wing knob in line with a little bump.
So you've got different cooking times, obviously, for the more delicate vegetables.
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different with that. What we really love in Bessemer is to show our one-pot cooking. You know, I have young adult children who, you know, live out on their own, and for them, cooking, it's got to be quick and easy. It's got to be all done in one pot, and I love the fact that I can show them all different dishes that they can do in this one.
I'm a chef and I still love one-pot cooking.
One-pot cooking, it's the way to go, isn't it? Once again, the good thing is you can keep peeking at it. So, you know, unlike the oven where you're reluctant to pull down the door and let everything out, it's actually quite safe in here. So our cookware is absolutely perfect for people who have caravans. You know, they can take this along, it fits in on most sizes in the van, and not only that, you could actually take it outside in the annex or in a tent with a little gas burner, and you've got yourself a versatile oven that you can, in this, do your roast, or you can do a cake, or throw in and make a lovely curry. So it is a very versatile piece to have on hand.
Yeah, and you do have to change the way you think to think of it as a mobile oven. Because when
Absolutely.
you look at it, the first thing you think is probably, yeah, like it's a pan or a pot, but it's also an oven. So it's changing your thought process.
Yes.
Think, I do have an oven with me, I can roast things.
I know, it's quite amazing what you can do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make a little parcel. So you just tear off a bit of alfoil and make yourself a little bowl shape. Not very good bowl making.
Okay, this is not origami.
So we pop that in, and then I'll just place the broccoli in there. I'll put some beans on and just a few bits of carrot. And as you can see, with what we have cooking in the pan, plenty with
That's
this
gonna be
is
a big meal.
substantial
Yeah.
meal for someone. So that'll take about 10 minutes. So we'll add that in the last 10 minutes.
That's it.
That's it, our 25 minutes is up. Everything's looking really good.
That does
All
look really
ready to
good.
go. So I just can test it by the knife slides easily in, and we'll just plate it up.
Rightio, pop them over here.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
So there's still enough fat on there to give it that, you know, caramelised look, isn't
Yeah.
there, without it having too much.
When you consider that was roasted in 20 minutes, that looks exactly how you would want it to look. Onion,
Yep.
pop on there as well. Our potatoes, which have got a nice amount of colour on them. The broccoli.
Now this is why I wanted you to plate, Ben. That looks fantastic.
It's about, with plating, it really is about seeing all of the plate.
Well, it certainly looks delicious.
That's the way to go. We'll give it a little sprinkle of salt. As you said, the flavour of
Yeah,
olive oil, I
yes.
love it. So just a little drizzle of olive oil. And my favourite thing in the world, the micro herb.
And a little bit of mint jelly would have been,
Oh yeah, well, we've got some little lemon balm here,
oh,
which
beautiful.
has a slight mint flavour. And there we go. You're a
Wonderful.
roast in a pot, which I think is fantastic. My wife would love it if I cooked that for her every night.
Excellent. My husband does love it.
So thanks to you, I'm going to be in the good books.